Hello. Hi, ladies in the group. And if you're watching the replay, make sure to post below, say hello, let me know that you have watched it. And of course, if you have any questions or comments while I'm doing this video, post them below. Okay. And you are also free to post in this group, Women Creating Healthy Lives. So if you're outside of Facebook, if you're watching this somewhere else, that is where I do most of my trainings and hang out most of the time. It is a free Facebook group for women over 40 where we discuss all things living healthy and happy over the age of 40, hormone changes, what's going on in your body, which is what I'm going to talk about tonight. Also about the food. I post pictures of what I'm eating. I post videos of me making my dinner, all types of things, and video recipes and tips, inspiration and stuff for living healthy over the age of 40 through the midlife phase and beyond. All right, that's Women Creating Healthy Lives. And on my on my website, dianamarchand.com, I also have some free trainings for you. One, 3 Keys to Midlife Weight Loss, which is an amazing 3-part video training that has handouts and recipes for that one. It's one of the best I've ever done. That's on my website, free for you to get that. Also, Prep and Plan So You Can Eat Healthy All Week. That is also a free resource on my Facebook. I'm on my website. Keep getting screwed up. dianamarchand.com. And I have pretty much close to 800 videos on YouTube at Diana Marchand. Search for me there and subscribe. All right, let's get going on this video. I'm just going to pop into the Facebook group and make sure that people can see me. There's a new format for Facebook, and I'm not really liking it, but, you know, I don't have control over what it looks like. So here we go. I just want to see if you guys can see me. Okay, yeah, there's the video. Okay, a little dark, but what can you do? I want to paint the walls white. There, I do not like the color right now. Very, very dull. Okay, so let's talk about estrogen dominance, what that is, how it contributes to weight gain, and how it can limit, I want to stop you from losing weight, as well as cause fibroids and a lot of symptoms and through the menopause stage. And even a lot of women, girls, whatever, in their 20s and 30s can have estrogen dominance, which is terrible. So people that have fertility issues could very likely have estrogen dominance. And why it is so popular and common right now is because of the food. Okay, that's what you're going to find out. And main foods are dairy products and meat. Dairy products and meat, as well as things like plastic bottles. Drinking water from plastic bottles, microwaving anything in plastic, keeping anything in plastic containers, all the use of plastic bags. What else was I going to say about that? Oh, plastic coffee cups, you know, the to-go lids, which now are being used, of course, because we can't bring our own. So drinking hot liquids out of a plastic to-go lid, soon as hot hits the plastic, these poisons, toxins are released and we ingest them. Same with microwaving in plastic, drinking water out of plastic water bottles, on and on and on. And they mimic estrogen. So they have compounds in them that mimic estrogen within our body. And what happens then is all of a sudden we get a buildup of estrogen, right? So there's many hormones and there's different types of estrogen. So that's the thing to know too. There are different types of estrogen. So we usually just hear about estrogen 1. There's estradiol, can't say some of them. There's different types of estrogen, okay? And normally, yes, we have different kinds of estrogen naturally in our body. But when we take on and are now using all these plastics and junk and stuff. Hello. Hi, Betty. How you doing? And all the junk food and the preservatives in our food and the conventional meat. Now, these livestock are pumped full of hormones for growth. Makes sense, right? We want them to be big and fat. Chickens too. Okay? Chickens, turkey, whatever, poultry, tons of kind of meat, pork, beef, all the types of meat. They're pumped with hormones to fatten them up so that they grow really fast, growth hormones. Well, what do you think that does to your body when you ingest those foods that have the fat and the meat of that animal that has all those hormones in it. You take them in your body. Your body, they're not normal, they're not real, they're not something that can be broken down properly. So your body holds them in the fat tissue. And so you are keeping this layer, a whole bunch of layers of fat in your body to store all these, what they see as toxins, as well as they mimic estrogen in your body. So your body believes it has more estrogen. So when you are an overabundance of estrogen, according to progesterone and testosterone, you have certain symptoms. Your body shape is going to be a certain way. For young women, they can end up with really large breasts. Middle-aged people and young women too, big belly. You see a lot of women with a lot of girls with a big round belly, right? And maybe smaller butt and hips. That is all the estrogen dominance in their breasts and in their belly, okay? So midlife women can get that too, especially at a time when their progesterone is naturally decreasing because of their age. Their estrogen would become a little higher, and then if they're having those foods and things, their estrogen's just creeped up and up, and pretty soon they have way more estrogen as their body sees it. This discrepancy is huge now. Therefore, the symptoms, the product of that is going to show in their body: fibroids, estrogen dominance, period problems, all of that type of thing. Is a huge symptom of estrogen dominance. And then, of course, the fat in your belly. Okay? Really bad for you. And actually, breast cancer, really bad, you guys, for estrogen dominance. So if you are still consuming meat from a regular grocery store, stop. That's all I have to say. And a lot of the dairy, too. So the best thing you can do is wild meat, organic meat, grass-fed meat, poultry, you know, like get them from farms, go to farmers market, get them from people in your area if you know anything like that. So be conscious where you're getting your meat and poultry from, even your eggs, and greatly decrease dairy, or have some of the almond milks or whatever like that, okay? I need water and I forgot water. I think I'm going to have to go back and go get some. Now, the book I am reading from is The Hormone Reset Diet by Sarah Gottfried. I know it's backwards. I know. Facebook Live does that. So this is the Hormone Reset Diet. And I have done the Hormone Reset with groups of women, like as a program before. And I'm thinking of running something like that again. We go through 7 hormones. So I'm going to read a bit about them in the next little while. So estrogen has to do with meat. So if you want to kind of decrease, like kind of put your body through a purge or whatever, then you would stop eating meat for at least 3 days, okay? And that's so easy for a lot of people, I know. So it's not even hard, right? But I would also encourage stop the dairy and any type of junk food, fast food, and plastics, because that is where a lot of it comes from too. So let me read what Sarah Gottfried, she is a gynecologist and an MD, what she talks about. There is something, I'm just reading because I highlighted, right? There's something really freaky that happens when you're a female and you've eaten grain-fed, hormone-injected, superbug-infected meat. That's what this conventional meat is, you guys. It slows down your digestion, makes you bloated or even constipated or both. It raises your body's estrogen levels, and it messes with your microbiome, your digestion, your gut health. The collective DNA of the microbes that live in your gut and elsewhere in your body. Here's the biological principle. While it's true that meat has a higher fat content than other sources of protein, the bigger problem is what's hidden in the fat of most meats you find at the grocery store. That's those hormones and junk. And they also inject them with antibiotics and a whole bunch of other stuff to keep, because they keep these poor animals in horrid states and environments, so they have to pump them full of stuff so they don't get sick, right? Oh, it's just terrible. You are anciently hardwired by your own DNA and microbiome to eat mostly vegetables, nuts, seeds, and the occasional fruit, and clean proteins, regardless of your blood type and ethical views. In fact, such native and unprocessed foods keep you clean and your hormones in balance, particularly estrogen. Rapid changes in industrial agriculture, of course, right, has caused all these horrible changes to our meats, right? Obesity rates have nearly tripled in the United States since the 1960s. Agriculture policies were changed in the 70s, allowing our government to subsidize corn and soy, which are highly genetically modified, right? Which is fed to the cattle to accelerate the production of meat and dairy to the tune of 30 billion per year. So it's a money-making business. They do this to make money. It has nothing, I mean, any of the food industries are not for your health. 000 for your health, okay? So know that they are not thinking about you. The best thing is to get them from local butchers that you trust, farms, wherever you can get the meat, wild meat, whatever, if you're a meat eater, okay? So in the book, The Hormone Reset, which is what I'm talking about, she gives you a quiz. So in my programs, The Hormone Reset, I also give you this quiz. You can do the quiz to see if you're estrogen dominant. And let's see. So even in your 20s and 30s, so if you can't lose the fat in your 20s and 30s, and well, most of them don't eat very healthy anyways, but estrogen dominant could be a big part of it. And she said she tried eating Atkins and then again was eating too much meat because she was trying to lose weight. And then she went vegetarian and vegan. And then of course you're eating too much starch. So she couldn't lose weight and she couldn't understand why. So that's kind of what she was going through. And in my programs, it's not about being vegan, vegetarian, or eating meat or anything. It's about the balance and finding what's right for you. And there's certain foods that you need to greatly decrease and other foods that you need to greatly increase. And that's what works, okay? So in all my programs, you find what works. As well as you try and stay away from this conventional stuff that has bad, yeah. Anyway, she said she lost weight when she started eating like meat without the hormones and all of that stuff. And when she kind of went to more fish and then really cleaned wild meats and a lot more vegetables and greens. And she even says that at restaurants, right, they cook a lot of their foods in industrial oils that are linked to higher rates of inflammation and problems with insulin and leptin, which are two other hormones that we'll be talking about. And they flip the hormone metabolic switch to make you fat, these bad oils. So don't use canola oil. Don't use corn oil, okay? When you're cooking or for any reason whatsoever under the sun, get rid of them. Okay. The connection between meat and estrogen is profound. When you eat conventionally raised red meat, estrogen overload is likely. Hormones in the meat, the type of bacteria cultivated in the guts of people who eat a lot of meat. Oh. I know, I'm just kind of reading the highlighted, so I'm kind of going through it. Estrogen-dominant conditions such as diabetes, metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is when no matter what you try, you cannot lose weight. And certain forms of breast cancer. Yes, estrogen dominance, breast cancer, highly likely, okay? And ovarian and endometrial cancer. Scientists know that estrogen dominance is a common root cause of these conditions. Okay, this is how serious it is. Especially when a woman menstruates early, becomes obese, has never born a child, or enters menopause at an early age. I entered menopause at a really early age. It just says, you know, track your burger, your meat, where it was, how it was fed, the animal, all of those things. So again, being really conscious where you buy your meat. And there's so many more great farmers markets and farms now that are selling ethical meats, right? Okay. The standard and practice for cattle in the regular conventional farms and feedlots, whatever, is to treat them prophylactically with antibiotics and dewormers, thereby breeding bacterial and parasite resistance and leading to the rise of superbugs. which can trigger hard-to-treat infections and foodborne illnesses. Geez, this began in the 1940s when they found that antibiotics fatten chickens. United States. 70% of antibiotics are currently used for livestock, mostly for growth promotion. Rates of the superbug contamination are alarming. The Environmental Working Group determined that 55% of beef, 69% of pork, and 81% of turkey meat contain superbugs. Makes you think. Your first bite of burger may taste juicy, but what's in it? Steroid hormones. An average of 6 steroid hormones are pumped into the feedlot cattle in order to fatten them up so there's more income per animal. Remember, this is all about money. Persistent organic pollutants. These are synthetic chemicals that may act as xenoestrogens, and that's what I was talking about in the plastics too, or fake estrogens in the body and raise your level of endogenous estrogen, resulting in estrogen dominance. That's what I talked about at the beginning of the video. Okay? Causing leaky gut syndrome and inflammation and shifting the microbiome in the wrong direction and may contribute to breast cancer. Why do we have so many cases of breast cancer now? Makes you think, right? Really makes you think. Please don't continue to eat conventional meat. Poor nutrient density. Grain-fed meat is lower in vitamins A, B, C, and E, and conjugated linoleic acid and beneficial omega-3s. Plus, it's higher in omega-6s, which are the bad fats for you. You don't want that, right? Whereas wild animals have higher omega-3 levels in grass-fed versus grain-fed. What's important is your overall ratio of omega-6s to omega-3s. Too much omega-6 compared with omega-3 leads to inflammation and more fat storage. Grain-fed beef shows a ratio of 8:1. 8:1, guys. And genetically modified grains, right? The corn and the soy that are used to feed these animals because they're cheap, for one. Often genetically modified corn is used to feed animals, and consuming those animals may also cause leaky gut and hormone disruption in your body. When you eat fat from conventional animal or meat, these toxins enter your gut and are sent to the liver. Your liver doesn't know what to do with them because they are not real organic matter. Remember, they cannot be broken down. So they are sent to fat stores, accumulating and magnifying in quantity over time. The big fat gut, fat thighs, fat whatever. It's like you're, oh my God, it's so bad. This is really so much of what happens with women. And same with when you consume toxins from any sauces, bottled things, canned things, packaged spices, anything like that. Read the ingredients. Rice cakes with flavors on them, tortilla chips with flavors on them, chips with flavors on them, crackers with flavors on them. Any of those preservatives, ingredients, flavorings, even if they say all natural, spices with an asterisk, right there is chemicals that are meant to taste like something to give your food flavor, okay? Your fat tissue eventually starts to release more toxins into your bloodstream, which is tied to obesity, insulin resistance, and breast cancer again. This has got to stop, right? As your tissues release toxins, your body gets the message to store even more fat. And because fat cells produce estrogen, your estrogen burden climbs even higher. Ultimately, estrogen dominance causes overweight women to store more fat instead of burning it, and causes bad problems with their gut, and of course, greatly increases breast cancer. Okay. Too much conventional meat and too little fiber from vegetables combine as a double whammy that makes you fat, toxic, and really resistant to weight loss. So what I find in 100% of the women I speak to, I'm saying 100%, I'm not saying 99.9%, 100% of the women I end up talking to in my one-on-one or in my groups do not consume enough vegetables and fresh greens. Do not. Not one woman that I have talked to consumes usually what they tell me they eat in an overall day. It's not that it's always bad. It's just that where are all the vegetables and greens, right? because this counteracts that. And anyway, especially once you greatly decrease these things and increase the vegetables and greens, wow, your body turns around pretty darn fast, okay? And then, of course, alcohol, that's a whole other thing. The combination of meat, those conventional meat, and the alcohol actually is really, really bad, because that just increases the whole thing. Alcohol makes the whole excess estrogen problem worse. That's what it says. All right. The majority of women who struggle with their weight have estrogen dominant problems, especially after the age of 35, when progesterone begins to decrease naturally. Red meat and alcohol exacerbate the imbalance. When you make too much estrogen and not enough progesterone, the increased fire is not a good thing. It creates inflammation in the body that can be hidden, but causes fat loss resistance, so you can't lose the weight, mood problems, and gut issues. When insulin resistant, which means your cells can't absorb the extra blood glucose your body keeps generating from the food you eat, your liver converts the glucose into fat. So another hormone, we're going to talk about insulin in another video, and how, of course, we all know about that. Insulin resistance can cause a lot of weight gain. Does it increase? Oh, okay, let me just check that. Alcohol makes the whole excess estrogen problem worse. So this is written by, if you want to learn more, The Hormone Reset Diet, Catherine, by Sarah Gottfried, MD. She's an obstetrician. You can read her book. Although she doesn't go into great detail why alcohol does that, my guess is the sugar in the alcohol. That's my guess, is the sugar in the alcohol with all of this stuff kind of causes a hormone storm. Okay, because sugar affects insulin, affects the way our body processes things. So that is what I'm thinking. But you can read more. Yeah, you can read more about, you can read this book if you wish. It's really good to read. So what she said, a great thing to do is eliminate meat for a while and alcohol, and increase your fiber, the vegetables and fresh greens. She talks a little bit about what happens when you become estrogen dominant. Let me just see what else I can find here. Okay. Too much estrogen relates. So basically, when you're going through the midlife phase, first of all, your progesterone naturally decreases, and then your estrogen seems higher. So when you're entering, not that they're ever balanced, because they're never really balanced, but let's say, you know, all of a sudden you're at this age, and all of a sudden 35 or over, it depends on when you start, everybody's different. Your progesterone starts to slowly decrease, right? Then your estrogen, oh, it's a bit higher, because your progesterone starts to naturally decrease. So it's harder to have kids. Then you can't get pregnant as easy. Progesterone is a pregnancy hormone. So it goes lower, and your estrogen, you know, is a bit higher. Now that is natural. That happens, but that does give us symptoms. But of course, when we're consuming foods that have way more estrogen, boom, that gets bumped up even more. So our symptoms are like greater, okay? So what she says is that when your progesterone starts to decrease a bit, it can cause mood problems, bloating, fibroids, insomnia, anxiety, right? So that is when your estrogen's a bit higher, okay? And of course, as we age, when estrogen lowers, we get a whole lot of other problems. Estrogen dominance is the main reason women have a harder time losing weight regardless of age when compared with men. Estrogen, along with other hormones, is responsible for how you respond to food, drink, and supplements. The 7 metabolic hormones determine whether the food you eat is burned or stored as fat. Over the next few days, I'm going to be talking about the various hormones here based in this book. So, again, she's saying primary reason for weight gain and weight retention is most women eat too much large amounts of conventional red meat and cheese. Remember I said dairy products? Cheese, They crave refined carbohydrates such as French fries, muffins, pastries, breads, things like that. And they don't get enough fiber and then all the nutrients that are in the vegetables and greens, right? And they also, of course, are under a lot more stress. Women these days are under so much more stress dealing with all the things that they have to deal with, as well as what's going on in the world now, right? So you can imagine. And therefore, they kind of tend to have a little more alcohol than usual, right? So then that also makes things worse. Estrogen dominant makes a woman more likely to have bloating and constipation. Finally, women who eat red meat have higher rates of blood sugar problems, as indicated in a recent large-scale study of red meat consumption, diabetes, and metabolic syndrome in nearly 150,000 people, published in the Journal of American Medical Association. Processed meat may be the greater evil. Research shows that processed meats, of course, you know, the lunch meats and all those, brutal with nitrates and preservatives and spices and fake flavorings and chemicals. They're so bad for your body, so bad for your system, just nothing but chemicals going in there. They can't be processed, they can't be metabolized, they can't be broken down. You don't detox fast enough, they will just be stored in fat. And of course, those things will disrupt your chemical balance in your body. They're full of nitrates, and nitrates are associated with diabetes, accelerated cellular aging, and cancer. Dun, dun. Okay, let's see what she says here. What she says again is like, we got to realize, we're not saying all meat's bad. We're just saying the conventional meat that mostly sold in grocery stores is where you have some of this stuff, right? So, where does she say it? Most of the meat in the grocery stores and restaurants, nothing like the wild game our ancestors ate. Good God, for one. No, not at all, right? It promotes inflammation and, get the fat. Because women are so efficient at fat storage, I believe that's a common reason why paleo doesn't give women the results in men and results they want. Now, if you do paleo right and you're doing it with the wild organic meats, grass-fed, all of that, you probably will get results. But if you're just using the cheaper organic meats, lunch meats, or even getting some, fast food meats, then that's definitely not the way to go. Definitely going to get way more inflammation in your body. Even if you lose weight, you're breaking down your body. It's going to become more unhealthy. Okay? Hormones are the master switches of your metabolism. And then, of course, so when we're going through these hormonal changes, that's why we have so many problems. Estrogen can also fat can also produce estrogen. So when you're consuming things that have fake estrogens, and then you're gaining fat from that, and then the problem is that your body's decreasing certain hormones, and fat can produce estrogen, so it's going to pile on more fat so that it can produce estrogen to try and balance your body. But that's only when your estrogen starts to decrease also. So if you do no meat and no alcohol, even just that for 21 days, see what that does for you. That you'd be able to tell, oh my God, I finally am able to lose the weight. And also, remember, preservatives. So read all labels. You don't want to have things with fake sweeteners, fake flavorings, fake spices, any preservatives in foods, right? So you got to read all labels, because those are truly the things that are disrupting the chemical balance of your body, as well as continually making you fat, and the toxins are building up in your system. You're unable to detoxify fast enough, especially if your gut health isn't proper. And then you're just becoming a toxic person, which of course leads to more autoimmune and more disease and more illness and breakdown in the body, and for sure a low immune system. So you tend to catch everything, right? And like we talked about, remember, too much estrogen gives you a greater risk to breast cancer. And I believe that's why we have so many. Not only that, but also the stress levels and the lack of self-care and for women, and the lack of feeling like they can put themselves first to take care of themselves. I believe that's a lot of why we have an increase in breast cancer, because women have this shame and feeling like they're selfish if they put themselves first or put themselves as a priority. And so they feel in their soul that they're not taking care of themselves. And why can't I? Something must, why, you know, and this, I never get time for myself. And then the guilt and the shame around trying to put themselves as a priority, things like that. There's just so much go on with women nowadays that there's under so much pressure and got so much stuff piled on them that no wonder we are seeing, that's my light, I don't like that trying to say in my eye. We are seeing so many cases of autoimmune and things like fibromyalgia and things like chronic fatigue and things like adrenal fatigue and cancers, right? All right, let's see. I think that's what I wanted to kind of say. Oh, and they say caffeine is linked with estrogen dominance too, of course. I love my coffee. But what I suggest, if you're just listening to this and it seems a little overwhelming, remember what you always do is just start, right? Just start doing some things. So if you have alcohol 4 or 5 times a week, start decreasing that. If you have a lot of conventional meat, start having less meat and then buying good meats, the meats from a butcher, the meats that have no, right? Just start buying the good stuff, some wild meat. Go to a local farmer. You don't need to eat as much. We'll find it'll be much more satisfying. Increase the vegetables, increase raw and cooked, and don't overcook them, and get a variety of vegetables. And vegetables are not just potatoes. Please, please, you need your broccoli, your cauliflower, your asparagus, your green beans. And in the summertime, it is the best. Your parsley, your cilantro, your basil, all the fresh herbs too, right? And all the different kinds of lettuces you can, and all the different kinds of greens, cooked and raw, okay? Smoothies are such a great way to get more of this. Have some super powders that contain a lot of minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, essential fatty acids, the good ones, right? And the great amino acids, which are the building blocks to proteins. You can get a lot of great healthy foods into you, more of that, and just begin to focus on decreasing some of the things I spoke about. The dairy, of course, sugar, of course, we haven't talked about sugar yet. Conventional meats, what else? Dairy, I guess I'll say, and alcohol, okay? And caffeine, right? So 1 cup of coffee a day is okay. It's not gonna break you. You don't have to go off coffee forever, all right? All right, so that is from this book, The Hormone Reset Diet by Sarah Gottfried. And I will be talking about some of the other hormones in upcoming videos for you guys. That was meatless, having to do with estrogen. If you have any questions, post them below. If you want to work with me 101, I think I'm going to bring my deal back, which is so amazing, and women are loving it, by Where to Start program plus 2 101 sessions with me for only $197. That's just absolutely astounding and amazing to have that deal, because the Where to Start program has the recipes, all the foods, all the knowledge, all what foods to eat during this phase of life, what foods to greatly start to decrease, what foods to greatly to increase, plus the recipes, recipe videos, prep and plan videos. So many great stuff that you will always have access to. That Where to Start program, it is there for you always. Plus you get 2 101s with me, where I can tell within the first one-on-one call exactly what's been holding you back, what you need to work on, some steps that you can take, and you will begin to notice shift and changes like pretty fast, okay? So let me just see if you let me see, was there any questions at all? Do you guys have any questions? Yes, hi June, yes. I did teach the Hormone Reset in one of my programs, and I might have a program that includes it, so you can go through the Hormone Reset, which is, it's not that it's hard to do. It's not hard to do because I give you tons of recipes, so it's super easy. And we're also going to do stress reduction, and we're also going to do what's really like dealing with the mind, body, spirit, right? So the body would be giving up some of these things for a few days at a time. to kind of reset things in your body. And then at the same time, bringing little practices in that helps you decrease your stress and really connect to you, connect to your body, begin to become more aware of what works for you, what doesn't work for you, develop that mind-body connection, begin to really start to feel the safety and stability that's within you to help deal with lots of the stress and anxiety that can happen in this phase of life. And while we're going through this crazy phase in the outside world, developing little practices that make you feel so much more calm during the day, right? Really begin to me, it's becoming empowered because, we can feel so powerless right now, so powerless. At least I do. But I have my practices that I need to bring myself back to me, back to my empowered state, because I get off track very fast with what's going on out here, right? And so if I didn't have the practices, if I didn't have the way I ate, the way that my stress reduction practices, my connection to my body, finding the safety and security inside me and the peace here and taking time for myself, seriously, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing in this new 21-day program. Well, yeah, it could definitely be hormone imbalance, Grace, but there's a lot to fibromyalgia. But you know what? Getting you feeling better, body, mind, and spirit with the food and everything is really, really important. Really, really, really important. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. I'm signing off, but remember, you can find me on YouTube. You can go to my website. I have a great free trainings on there, dianamarchand.com. And of course, if you're watching this outside of Women Creating Healthy Lives, my Facebook group, come and join us there. Okay, so much love to you guys. Bye-bye.